Today we're going to be looking at optical illusions. So let's take a look at what optical illusions are and why is it op art is why it's called that. So it's a style of art that uses optical illusions, which is creating movement for your eye. So when you're looking at optical illusions, you might experience things like flashing, hidden images, vibrating patterns, warping of the image, etc. And it's typically done in black and white to get the best effects. So some of the famous op art artists out there are Bridget Riley and Victor Vazzarelli, and they're kind of the founders of this type of project. Here is a movement in squares piece by Bridget Riley. So when you look at this, just take a moment, move your eyes across the picture, and see what you're seeing. Do you see flashing? Do you see movement? What type of tricks is it doing? Now, look at those lines that are in this. What do you notice? Or how can you explain how line is used in this painting to create this effect? What about color used? And how is shape being used in this as well? You'll notice as we're looking at this that these squares are equal, but as we get closer towards the not necessarily middle, but slightly to the right of that, the lines that create these squares start getting skinnier, and they get skinnier and closer together. And then as it comes out, the square starts coming back until it's almost identical to the beginning. The spacing of the lines up and down pretty much are the same. They're spaced exactly the same. They're straight lines, but because the lines that are going vertical are different spacing, it creates this illusion. So that is a little bit about how shape, the use of the lines are used. And do you think this would be as effective if it wasn't black and white? The next artist who uses a lot of illusion is Victor Vazzarelli, and you can see his piece entitled Zebra. So when you look at it, he's got the outline of the two zebra heads. And as you're looking at the stripes, you'll notice it goes black to white to black to white. So it follows that same opposite. But he uses line to create this curve. And it changes the curves when it's not a part of the neck and head here. It's interesting how he uses those shapes and the pattern of black and white to create his image. And lastly, what would you do if this was your school hallway? As you can see, it's actually not dipping. It is straight, the tile, but because of the lines and the way they angle, it looks like there's a sinking hole. So I want you to keep in mind some of these tricks of lines, spacing, etc. as we jump into our piece today. Now that we know a little bit more about our op art, the next part that we're going to add into our project today is going to be a ROYGBIV line. So you're going to be needing your markers or your crayons for this part of the project. I know you guys know a lot about ROYGBIV, and it's based off of the color wheel. So let's take a quick look at this color wheel. On the color wheel, we have always the primary colors of red, yellow, and blue. When you mix two primary colors, red and yellow makes orange, yellow and blue makes green, and you can see there are two types of greens right here, and then blue and red make purple. So on the color wheel, there's such a thing as you have between the blue and purple, you'll have an indigo, because it's a mixture of a little bit of blue, and purple will be a bluish purple. A red and purple can be a reddish purple. And you can kind of play with all of that. So this is typically, you have a 6 color wheel when you just have the primary and secondary colors. But you can start adding in some tertiary colors. But what I wanted to point out is the reason for the order of the rainbow is here, it's because of how the colors blend and mix together. So Roy, red, orange, yellow. G for green, blue, and then indigo and violet. So just to give you a little bit more information as to how that happens, it's because of the mixing of the colors. So let's dive into our project and get started. So today we're going to be making our own optical illusion, and we're going to have a ROYGBIV kind of stream coming through the middle of it. You'll notice here in my example, I tried to show you a variety of different mediums that you can use in this project. And you'll notice as we go through this, how each one is going to be a little different based on what materials we have and your choice as the artist. So you'll see here when I did the lines on this one, this is using marker. Here is where I am using a black crayon, so you can kind of see that texture coming through, almost like a brick wall kind of look. And then I went over to color pencil. Now color pencil, you can continue working and building and adding in more, and you can add it really dark and nice. But for the purposes of this video, I didn't go into making it as much. I just wanted to show that you could have a different variation. This is using a regular pencil. As you're using your pencil, you can also consider value. You can start with an area that is darker, moving towards a medium value and shade to a light shade. And you can have it going that way on each of yours, and it'll give it a different effect as if it's bending. You could have it where it's darker in the middle and lighter on the edges. You could have it growing darker from this side, or just a solid color. So that's up to you. You have that preference to be able to choose what you like the most. I know on the video here you can see the black marker a little bit more. It doesn't show the reference as, in person, but it's up to you to create this illusion. So let's get started. All right, so today we're going to be working on creating our op art piece, but then also adding in the ROYGBIV colors. So let me get this here. All right. So the first thing that you want to do is you can either use a pencil. I'm going to use a black marker at this point just because it's easier to see in the video. But what we want to do is we're going to start adding in lines going across. So we want to go horizontal lines, and they could be as wavy as you want or not as wavy as you would like. So I'm just going across it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my lines get a little bit closer together, like this. And so I keep bringing it closer and closer, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start spacing it out again, and I'm going to bring it outwards, and it gives you this illusion, as you can see. You don't have to do that, it's up to you. You can make it as bumpy or not as bumpy as you would like. So I want you to take your time right now to do some lines going horizontally across your paper. All right, so now that you have filled up your paper with your horizontal lines, we need to add in some vertical lines. So what I'm going to do is add in some vertical lines coming down. So you can have it go straight, or you can curve it just a little bit, or have it curved a lot. They don't have to be exactly the same. It's up to you. You could do the same thing where you have some of them getting closer. Okay, so now once you have this completed, what we're going to do is we need to color in every other as black. So what I do is just like reading a book, I'm going to start off with a black square. So I'm going to just do a dot to help myself. Black, white, black, white, black, white, black. Right? So I do my first row. Move my hand down. This is going to be white. So basically, it's every other is going to be filled in. And it's easier. I want you to go nice and slow. I find just giving myself a mark gives me a point of reference of how to fill this in. Go nice and slow. Take your time. It's almost like it's its own little puzzle. Okay, so once you go in and you give yourself a reference, then I would suggest to go in using that marker or crayon or color pencil, whatever that you are using, and that will help do this. If you want to, you can also continue just using pencil at this point and color in using the pencil, and then you can go in and add in what I'm going to show you next. Okay? All right. Before we start filling it in, what I would like you to do is take out your colors for ROYGBIV. So we have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and because I don't have a true indigo, I'm going to use a lighter blue, and I'll have my darker blue it be my indigo, because the indigo is a little bit mix of a blue and purple, and then my violet. So here are my ROYGBIV colors. For your ROYGBIV colors, before we fill everything in, I want you to find a line that we're going to fill in being our ROYGBIV. So I believe I might try doing this one here. So I'm going to color this in, my red, next one will be my orange, and as you can see, because I added in the dot, it might be just part of my project now. And then we're just going to go and keep repeating the same pattern. So this is going to be red again. Remember, when you're working, you always can turn your paper, whatever works best for you. For me, I enjoy outlining first. It gives me a little bit more reference, and then I can continue in coloring. As you're using colored pencil, you can also blend and have it come across. With marker, it's a little bit more difficult. But say you wanted to split this one up and you're using colored pencils, you can also do that too, so it looks like it's blending a little bit. Just like this. But if you had a colored pencil, it would blend in really pretty. So you can always have it cross a little bit if you wanted to try adding that technique. And see what you like better. Do you like seeing that? Do you not like seeing that? It's entirely up to you. As an artist, you can make these choices and see what feels best to you, because everybody will look and perceive your art in their way. But what's most important is for you to be happy with what you're creating and to explore and find what works for you, what you enjoy and not. Once you have that completed, our next step is to go in and fill each of these spaces. As I said, I know our markers sometimes can dry out. You could use color pencil to fill them in. You can use your regular pencil to fill them in and just have it as gray, and that would make the color pop out too. Or you could use your marker or crayon, whatever you have available to you.